Yes, everybody, and welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me as he always does is THI publisher Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for a Carolina football related drop for this specific one. And we're going to be talking about is there a secession plan in place for after Mack Brown and when he ultimately does decide to step away from football. 71 right now, will be 72 by the time the season starts. So obviously up there in age in some ways compared to coaches across the country, especially in major college sports. I still think he has a few years in him coaching for sure. But again, this is a discussion that's going to be and there will be a decision will have to be made at some point down the line when like I said, when Mack does decide to step away. So AJ, I'll just go ahead and ask you, based on your sources and based on some things you've heard and some conversations you had, is there a secession plan in place right now for Mack Brown when he steps away?
No. And that's interesting because I think
surprising a little bit.
A lot of people, I never thought that there was. I know that there's a plan. Let's say if Mack is suddenly unable to coach the team, someone would take over who's in-house, but that's
internally.
Not a succession plan.
Yeah,
that's not a succession plan. There was a narrative that when Gene Chizik was hired, he's going to be the next head coach when Mack steps down. That's not the case. Mm-mm. And what I was told, talking to a very well-placed source on this, is that, he did that in Texas, and it didn't work. It was a huge mistake. There were so many bad things. There were so many more negatives about it than positives that he'll never do that again at all, ever. So I guess that's a pretty affirmative no, that there isn't one. And even if sources are telling us there isn't one, there's no point in suspecting that maybe there still is one, because it's just not the case. And the other part of this too, which I find very interesting, and again, not too surprising, given some of the conversations I've had with Mack and so on, is that there's no timetable for him to walk away. He's almost 72, but I don't know if you've seen him lately. He's lost like 35, 40 pounds. He looks great. He's as sharp as ever. 72 now is like 55.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's like the new 55, basically. Yeah.
It's very different now. My dad turns 89 in July, and he runs circles around people, physically and mentally.
Yeah, times have changed.
Works out the gym 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his 21st book just is coming out.
He just doesn't stop.
Almost 89. Yeah, so if you love what you're doing, I know there's a saying, if you love what you're doing, it's not work. I love what I'm doing, but it is work, obviously. You know this. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a grind.
But it's gratifying work. Mm-hmm. And there's the gratification that Mack gets out of his job, meeting these families, showing kids what their possibilities are. I think that he is so driven by the idea of a young man comes in and has an option to go there and affect his whole future by the decision he might make going there, the 40-year decision that they pitch, which is a real one. I think he's totally infused by that. Mm-hmm. I think he's infused by the idea of a guy like Kamen Rucker coming in, who was an afterthought in his class and is probably going to play in the NFL, and is a leader and is a voice that guys that were rated much higher than him that came in the same class listened to, because he's the dude, one of the dudes. I think Mack is totally infused by that. And if you love what you're doing and you're physically able to do it, there's no point in never stopping. I mean, he doesn't need to. Some people want to go play golf 15 years. Some people want to go on a boat and sail and have margaritas and that kind of thing. Some people want to go to the mountains and just read or write a great novel. Maybe some guys just want to coach and take a program they believe can win on a very high level, one that they almost had there before, and complete that mission, and don't view it as a task as much as a pleasure. And I think that's the way Mack approaches things. So it's very interesting that it's an absolute no when talking to actually two sources on this. And it's also very interesting that they both absolutely affirmatively say there's no timetable. It could be 5 years, 6 years, who knows? Nick Saban's only a few years younger than Mack.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case based on, like you said, Mack's just enthusiasm for what he does. It does surprise me in some way. I guess there's two ways to look at it. If you know for a fact, like we do, that Mack isn't planning on stepping away anytime soon, then you don't really need a succession plan. Like you said, Carolina has one if something, God forbid, was to happen to Mack where he can't coach any longer internally, which is fine. But if he has no, regard and is not considering stepping away anytime soon, then I could see it. But also, Mack's talked about this, AJ, and we know Mack has lists for assistant coaches. For instance, if an assistant coach leaves, Max said, I've got a list of assistant coaches on my speed dial that I'm calling that I would hire, 5 guys, 6 guys, even more than that. He's always working and building that list. For me, your athletic department should do the same thing for the head position of your football program. There should always be a list. There should always be guys on there. And I assume there should be. And I think at the same time, there should be a top 1, a top 2 of, okay, if let's say Mack wakes up next summer and is like, what? I just don't know if I want to do this anymore. And he does decide to retire, which I don't think will happen, but let's say that happens. There needs to be 1 and 2 there that you're ready to go on speed dial you can call. There needs to be a succession plan behind that. So I guess in some ways I can see both sides of it, but I do think you need to do your due diligence as a program and as a university and as an athletic department. You always need to be prepared for whatever, and you always need to be prepared for what's next. And I think that's how great programs are built. You're always looking ahead and you're always ready for the what if. Okay, like I said, if Mack just decides he don't want to do this anymore next year, you got guys right there instead of just sitting there like, oh, okay, we didn't see that coming. Well, let's go start Googling and see if we can find somebody to take over this program. I think you need to be able to plan ahead, and also in planning ahead, what you're looking for as a program. What the identity of your program is. Do you hire somebody that wants to run the same stuff that Mack's running, or do you go a different direction? And that all needs to be determined and in place so you can have a successful program. And I think it's no different with anything. I think a smart and a good business should be ran like that. And I think, major college sports is a business in a lot of ways. And I think you should do that as well, especially when you've got, the amount of guys and amount of people, good people in the athletic department that Carolina has and within the football program that Carolina has. I think you should always be planning ahead and trying to make your program better and planning for what's next. So I do see both sides of it, though. You can see an argument for both, I think.
Well, I can assure you Bubba has that list, and he has it for basketball too.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like when Roy retired, there was a list, but maybe Roy comes in and says, I've got an idea. So that affects the list because you're going to listen to Roy. If Mack did that, you listen to Mack. But I was told that Mack wouldn't do that. Mack would step out of the way and allow the process to play out. He doesn't really want to have his hand too much in it. He might give some opinion if asked, but he's not going to say, this is what we need to do.
He's not going to defend.
So whatever happens next, whatever happens next in football probably won't happen for a while. But when it does, I think whoever the AD is at the time, most likely if it's Bubba, and I think Carolina would be fortunate if it is Bubba, that he would have the right names on the list to come in or somebody would be a good hire. And it could be from within. And I would imagine that some of the names on the list right now might be people who are already there. There's a lot of people think Lonnie Galloway one day could be a good coach, but he's getting up there and hasn't. I think maybe he'd be the kind of guy that if something happened and Mack couldn't go, Lonnie would uphold a lot of the things that are Mack. Gene's a little bit different personality.
He's older
Gene
too.
Has the head coaching experience. He would be someone as well. But he's older, and because he's probably had the head coaching experience, probably him. Chip Lindsey has head coaching experience. But anyway, I think it would either be Gene or it would be Lonnie. Maybe both of them sort of in a co-thing, but Gene would be the spokesman because he's got a lot more experience with that. And certainly doesn't give much away when you talk to him. So that would be very head coach-like, unlike Mack, who gives plenty away. So I think the important note here is that there is no succession plan. And the second part of that is that right now there's no timetable.
Yeah.
So, let's say they win 12 games this year and Drake wins the Heisman. Would Mack view that as saying, you know what, I've done what I came back to do, so I can walk away now? Oh, no, I haven't had that conversation with him. And the people that I've asked about that haven't really either, because I really think it's when he feels like the job is a job he can no longer do, no longer wants to do, or his mission is complete, all those other forces come together at the same time, then maybe he walks away. I think he still loves it very much. I think his wife loves being a part of this as well. When he said when he came back the first year or two, and he was often asked about it, he never said, well, I just miss coaching. He used to say we needed a team, meaning he and Sally. We needed a team. So, yeah, that's coaching. That's game planning. That's winning. That's dancing in the locker room, celebrating. That's Gatorade showers and all that. But Mack loves the job January through July as much as he does August through December. That's when you have a team. That's when you get to know the kids. That's when you eat with the kids. That's when you find out how you're affecting their lives. Sometimes that's when you affect their lives the most. So as long as they need a team, I think he's going to be the head coach. And I suspect they're going to need a team and want a team for a while.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like Dean Smith in a lot of ways. Dean just kind of talked about how he just, in the office, he just kind of woke up and didn't really want to do it anymore. It kind of feels like Mack kind of views it the same way. If I wake up one day and I don't have that fire within me to go look forward to the first practice or spring practice of the year, then maybe it's time to call it quits. It kind of looks like he approaches it kind of the same way. And again, that's a good thing because Mack enjoys it so much, but I think there always should be a succession plan because there's no guarantee Mack, and again, I don't think this would happen, but Mack could wake up a year or two from now and say, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Because football coach, man, that's a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job. And it is hard and it is a lot of work. So you better darn sure love what you're doing if you're doing it. So again, I see both sides though. If you're head coach, Mack Brown.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point you just made, Jacob. And I will tell you this, that I've been around a ton of coaches, pro, college, major pro, major college, and less so than most all others, if not all others. Mack seems less stressed to me. He could be agitated. He could be direct. And sometimes after games, he looks tired because 4-hour college football game on the sideline, anybody look tired after a game.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah.
But I think that he just manages his time so well and he delegates authority so well and he's one of these coaches that doesn't feel like he has to have his knuckles in the midst of absolutely everything. And because of that, he preserves himself more, if you will. He doesn't burn himself out because he trusts people and he allows people to come in to do their job. And if they don't do it satisfactorily, he moves on and finds somebody that can. And I think that's one reason why he has no trouble getting plenty of us of coaches who apply, want to reach out and want an opening when there's an opening for Mack, because he allows guys to learn how to coach. He allows them to make their mistakes and learn from their mistakes because he wants them all to become head coaches. And you have to do that if you're going to become a head coach. He talks about Barry Switzer, how when he worked for him at Oklahoma, Barry allowed him some freedom. And it helped him so much as a coach. And that's what he does with his guys. So because of that, I don't think he taxes himself as much as some other coaches do. I don't think he stresses. He's as competitive as all get out, and the losses stick with him. But I don't think there's a daily stress that he endures as much as a lot of other coaches. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't work as hard. That's not what I'm saying. I just think he handles it better. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason.
Yeah, he knows.
There are some people that they're the whole thing. Well, they're just a natural. They make it look easy. I think Matt kind of makes it look easy sometimes, even though he's working his ass off all the time and burning that midnight oil and walking back home to get his extra steps in and stuff. He's doing all that. But he just makes it look easy.
Yeah, and that's a credit to him. And again, that's why he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. And last thing I'll say about it, we joke a lot of you see coaches that it feels like they're constantly, like, for lack of a better, you've used this term and I love it, planning the D-Day invasion. Everything's secretive and I can't tell y'all anything. And every day, every little thing means this and it means that much more. And oh, if this gets out and if I tell the media this, then this is going to happen. It's like, no, I think Mack just enjoys it. I don't think he takes it very seriously, but at the same time doesn't take it as seriously as some do, because it's not that serious. Not everything's that serious when it comes. It's a game. It's a sport at the end of the day. Not every little detail and decision you make is like, getting ready to invade the Normandy coast. I love that comparison that you use, because you do see coaches like that and it stresses them out and it burns you out and then you can't do it anymore and you lose the joy for it. I don't think Mack looks at it like that, although he does take it very seriously, obviously.
Yeah, there's no black sand between his toes.
No.
No doubt about that.
No.
And And totally, now he takes it just as seriously, but he also will tell you, they got videotape. They know what we're doing. They know what our personnel is. That, you scout in the off season, so you're ready to roll it all out, and then you tweak some things once games start being played. So everybody knows everybody. They're not going to hide anything.
Yeah.
So the ones that overly stress, I can tell this story now. It's been, I guess, the statute of limitations.
The statute of limitations. It's been long enough. Yeah.
I remember going to one of Carolina's football practices in 14, maybe, and Larry Fedora's head coach, and they're working on special teams. I believe it may have been the week they played East Carolina. It could have been the week of that 70-41 disgrace. But
brutal.
I was over. They had I think it was the week where the players invited faculty, like professors, in to watch practice. They had some portable stands there, and I'm leaning up against the back of the portable stands early in practice, and they're working on. We're allowed to watch like the first 30 minutes, and they're working on special team stuff. And I pulled out my camera and I was videotaping some stuff. And I was videotaping it not to put it out there, but I wanted to make sure I knew who was in what spots. I would watch it myself and I'd chart who was in what, had what jobs, what roles, what positions on a couple of the special teams. And because they'd had some injuries and stuff, I was just kind of curious who was there. And I'm focused on that. And all of a sudden, someone comes up from behind me. It's Larry, says, "You're not going to put that out. People see, are you?" And I turned and it's Larry. And I was like, "No, I'm actually just filming it for myself so I can
look back on it.
A depth chart basically for it." Yeah, you don't want to put that out there. We don't need that getting out there. They're working on like hunt team, like extra points.
I don't think it really matters. And
I like Larry, and Larry was good to deal with. But Larry got sort of planning the D-days like as time went on, more and more. Mm-hmm. And that was an example of that. Who cares?
That can stress you out. Team. Yeah, I just can't imagine.
Now, if they were working on a fake punt, I'm smart enough to know, and maybe he didn't really know me well enough at that point. Maybe a couple years later he wouldn't have done that. I'm not going to put out stuff like that. That's not fair. That goes against the whole point of having the access. That's taking too much advantage of it, and that's not the right thing to do. But I wasn't doing that, and I signed it up, closing the camera off just because I didn't want to stress him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's again,
I've told you that story before, haven't I?
Yeah, and I think that's just the contrast. And again, I mean, for some people it works like that. I just think it's got to be more stressful and harder, and just when you're worried about every minute thing like that again doesn't really. People scout you. They know what you're going to do and how you do it when the game comes in August or September. They know, you know what I mean? It doesn't make that big of a difference. And I do think Mack isn't like that, although he does take it very seriously, obviously, because if he didn't take it seriously, he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. If he just was doing this for a laugh, I don't think he'd be as successful as he's been. So you got to find that sweet spot. And I think Mack's found that. And I think he balances life and work and coaching well. And I think some others just don't because they can't, or they just get too caught up in it. And sometimes and I think Mack stepping away helped that too. I think we need to say that as well. I think Mack stepping away for the years that he did definitely offered that perspective, because he talks about at Texas how he's told us multiple times where he did take things too seriously when he was at Texas, and he realized that in hindsight. So I think he does have that wherewithal to at least be able to look back, and obviously stepping away like he did and doing what he did for the amount of time he did obviously helped that too. So
yeah, he took the losses. He still takes the losses very hard, but he didn't savor the wins as much.
Yeah,
sort of balance that out. I think now he savors the wins a little bit more, and the wins are about the kids. Mm-hmm. And I know people don't want me talking about Coach K, but one of the things I really appreciated when I covered Duke for a long time, why you get so excited every year, you see, because it's their first chance. It's their second chance. It's their last chance because their window is so small. Mm-hmm. So I go through that with them. So if it's a bunch of seniors and this is their last go around, I go through that with them. It's not my 35th team. It's my first time with this group doing that. I think Mack approaches things somewhat the same way. And that's part of what keeps a legend a legend.
Agreed.
Continuing to coach at a high level.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, it's a good place to wrap this podcast up. I think we could spend another hour talking about Mack and his career and everything like that, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Another episode of the Daily drop. Appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And also, guys, go check us out on Twitter. Go follow us over there at Hill Illustrated. Go like us on Facebook at Tar Heel Illustrated, and get involved, and even come join the website if you want to. $8.33 a month to become a premium subscriber, and you get access to so much content, because most of the content we put out is not free, and you have to be a premium member to access it. So if you want to get a little more insight, a little more understanding of what's going on behind the scenes with some of this stuff, a lot of that stuff goes in our message boards, particularly with recruiting. Tom signed up. You can be a Carolina Insider too for just $8.33 a month. Jacob Turner, Andrew Jones, appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.